Hello and welcome, I'm Stormo, and today we're taking a look at Dodonpachi Daifukatsu, or to give it its English name, Dodonpachi Resurrection, which has just come out on Steam, and I actually own this game on two other platforms. Pardon me. I own this game on two other platforms, and it's all really good. And I got a review copy of it on Steam the day after it released, which was last Thursday. I spent a fair bit of the weekend playing it, and I thought I'd go through it and give everyone an idea of what it's like and what it's about. So, let's get straight into Dodonpachi Resurrection, which is pretty much what I'm going to be calling it, because Resurrection is just a straight-up translation of it. So, first thing you notice is this very confusing menu. It's probably the most... If you're used to the Cave PC ports that Dejika have been putting out, which the previous ones were Mushihime-sama and Death Smiles, then this will look pretty familiar, but if you're not, then this will be confusing as hell, so I apologise for that. That's how the menu screen looks. So, we've got a whole bunch of different modes. I'll just quickly go through all of them. We'll take a look at each one in turn. But first off, we'll just go through what they all are. So, the menu here is just basically your various menu options. So you have play, score, attack, leaderboards, training, replays, options, credits, return, and exit, obviously to quit the game. The main ones here are obviously play and score attack. Score attack basically gives you the game, but you can't continue if you die. It's basically all about trying to get a high score. But of course, the leaderboards, I believe, are shared between play and score attack, so it doesn't really matter. It just that continue option's disabled in score attack. There's also a training mode, which basically allows you to practice individual levels and modes. I think you set game speeds and stuff like that in there. I haven't actually looked at the training mode yet, so I don't know exactly what it is. So we'll dive into training mode just quickly to have a bit of a look. But yeah, no, it gives you all the settings and stuff. And whether you have hypers, fighter and bombers, all that stuff. Yep. Okay, so yeah. I'm not going to spend too much time in here. I'm not going to show this off. I just thought I would check to see what it was, because it's the one menu option I haven't looked at yet. For the most part, we're going to be playing. So I'll just quickly go through what these all are, because these are all the different game modes. So you can see here what we've got selected is version 1.5 normal. I'll explain why it says version 1.5 once we get into it. Version 1.51 normal, version B, arrange, and version L, arrange A. So these are two different arrange modes of the main game, and it's kind of hard to explain exactly what that means without going into them, but I will get into them because they are interesting, especially this version here, which is a very interesting rearrangement of the game. And then there's a novice mode, which is basically a toned down easy mode version of the game, which good for people who aren't familiar with bullet hell shooters. And maybe for everyone else too. For example, on Novice Mode, I can actually 1 credit complete Dodonpachi Resurrection. It's not that hard. Speaking of Novice Mode, there's also, and I'll actually start here for this lot, there's also Black Label. Black Label is a complete rearrangement of the game. It's significantly more difficult than the main 1.5 mode. I would say that it's about more than twice as hard, I would reckon. It also has some tweaks to the scoring system and a dynamic difficulty system that makes it even harder again, just in case you didn't think it was hard enough. And that also has a novice mode. Don't be encouraged by the fact that that says novice. It's probably about as hard as the normal 1.5 version. But we'll get to that as well. And then there is the arrange mode, and this is amazing. I'm not going to say what the Black Label arrange mode is right now. I'm going to show it off because there's something very special going on here, and we're going to save that for the last thing in this video. So let's kick off by having a quick look at version 1.5 normal to give you an idea of what Dodonpachi Resurrection actually is all about. And as it loads up, check out this copyright message. So this game is for use on Earth and by Earthian only. And you might notice at the bottom, the whole thing, it didn't stay up long enough for me to get to it, but there's a whole thing about being prosecuted to the full extent of the jam, which, if you remember the classic Dodonpachi arcade games, yeah, it's a reference to the old copyright message they had when they start up. So this is Dodonpachi Resurrection. Like all Dodonpachi games, you get 3 ships. I generally prefer the blue ship, which is what I'll select. You have 3 styles: Bomb, Power, and Strong. And I'll quickly, we might go with... I'll go with Bomb style, because it's kind of the normal style, but there's a lot to talk about with this game, and also I'm probably going to die pretty quickly, because I normally play on Power style, because of the fact that Power style gives you a on-hit bomb. So, here we go. It looks like a Dodonpachi game. You have your shot, your wide shot, and you have your lasers. I am not good at this game. I could show off a replay and pretend that I was really good at this game, but I'd rather you saw what I'm actually like. So, Dodonpachi is pretty much the mother of all bullet hell shooters. While Batsugun is the game that gave us the bullet hell shooter, it's very much the original one. I think I got all those. I'll explain what I'm trying to achieve there. Dodonpachi is a game that pretty much codified the genre, the original Dodonpachi. And Cave... No, I didn't, okay. And Cave have been perfecting it ever since. And this is the 3rd in the series, except for the fact that there are 4 Dodonpachi games at this point. One of them is not canon and wasn't developed by Cave, which is a game called Dodonpachi 2. And that has never been released. The game that this is a direct sequel to is Dodonpachi Daioju, which came out in the early 2000s. I have that on PS2. It is probably my favourite bullet hell shooter of all time, Daioju. This game I don't think is quite as good, but I'll go into reasons for that. So, we've already beaten the first stage, and I somehow made it this far without getting hit, which I'm amazed by the way. But we're probably going to die on this boss, but I'll see how I go. Obviously, trying to talk and concentrate on the game is really freaking hard. Especially when you're as bad at these games as I am and you're trying to show it off. But yeah. Okay, so we did all that, and we got the boss. So, let's talk about the basics of Dodonpachi. So, you'll notice the big number there that says 582 hit. That is my chain. And Dodonpachi uses what it refers to as the get point system. I'll just skip over all this. Got a no miss bonus, yes. And the chain increases as you kill enemies. You can see a sort of green to red bar at the top left of the screen there that's constantly filling and depleting. That's the chain counter, and it... Oh, okay, so I do auto-bomb. Okay, I didn't realise that I auto-bombed in this mode. But that's the chain counter. And it's super important because it lets us maintain that chain. Now, the way the chain works, you can see a number next to that says max 116 hit, but you can also see a number under that that's like a score value. It just disappeared, but it said 83,002 before. That number is the value of the chain. Basically, the way the chain works is that it's the points value of the current enemy plus the points value of all the previous enemies in the chain, or a percentage thereof. I don't remember exactly how it works, and it might be different in this game to what it was in the old Dodonpachis, but that's what it used to be, and I don't know if it's any different to that now compared to what it was. Under that number, you'll notice a meter that probably just emptied as I activated it. That's the hypermeter, which is basically why I'm suddenly filling the screen with burning green and black death. The hypermeter basically powers your ship up for a period of time. You see a circle around my ship that slowly depletes. It also increases the amount of hits you get per chain, and that did not go well. I took a hit. We picked up another bomb though, so that's okay. And you can see that hypermeter is now mostly full. Under that, obviously, are my lives. I am not great at scoring and playing this game. I played a lot of this game actually on my phone. There's an excellent iOS port of this game. In fact, there's an excellent iOS port of most of Cave's better-known shooters. Escaluda, Mushihime-sama, Dodonpachi, this one, and Dodonpachi Daioju also has an iOS port. And Death Smiles as well, yes. The side-scroller has, and they all have really good iOS ports. Like, genuinely, as far as mobile games go, they are excellent and well worth having on your phone. And they still work on iOS 10. I was playing them as recently as not that long ago. since iOS 10 came out. I always test to make sure that they all run on the latest version of iOS, because I have a separate folder. That was me dying. I have a separate folder for them. So you might notice something here. So these big purple lasers, alright? There's a new gimmick in this game where you have big purple lasers that you can reflect with your own laser. And I should probably explain, as we go through this, I should quickly explain how actually playing the game works, aside from the scoring system, which is obviously the most important aspect of the game. But the other thing that has, of course, with this game is you have your shot, and this game's set up so that you have an auto-fire button which justifies your shot, because what normally happens in Dodonpachi game when you hold down fire is you get this laser here, and the laser is a much more concentrated beam. It's essentially all of your output concentrated into a single beam, all of your damage output in a single beam. You might notice how I collected some bees. Bees are, of course, the big theme in the Dodonpachi games. I took another hit there. Bees are a very important factor in all Dodonpachi games. In this game, they're not as important for scoring as they are in Dodonpachi or Dodonpachi Daioju, but they are still worth picking up if you can. But there's a weird thing with the bees in this game, and I'm not sure I fully understand it. So if someone is watching this video and can just comment on the actual mechanics behind the bees. But basically the bees switch between green and gold. In gold, they're worth heaps of points. And green, they're only worth 100 points each, which, if you can look at my score and how quickly it's going up, and trust me, it's not going up very fast by the standards of this game. But if you look at the game at those scores, you can see that it doesn't go up. But I think the green bees increase the hypermeter much quicker. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's what I've observed. And the hypermeter increases basically when you increase your hit count, when you collect bees, when you hit things with your laser, like this, which is the mid-boss. One thing the hypermeter also does in this game that it didn't used to do is cancel bullets. In fact, there's this whole bullet cancelling mechanic in this game that isn't played up. I'm not really showing it off very well because I'm not very good at doing it. But one of the real keys to this game is using the bullet cancelling mechanic, which not every enemy has cancelable bullets, but the ones that do will cancel everything, and you get heaps of stars and stuff for it. It's worth lots of points. The other thing to note with this game, unlike previous Dodonpachi games, is if you drop the combo, it doesn't actually end immediately. You might notice that the combo counter sometimes decreases instead of increases. And that's because in this game, when the combo meter runs out, which is, of course, that green to red meter at the left side of the screen there, not next to the hypermeter. When that meter runs out, it doesn't immediately cause the combo to break. I don't know how I did that. I do not know how I got through that without getting hit until then. And basically what happens is that the combo meter, instead of breaking the combo, it counts down. And if you can restart a combo, it'll pick up where it left off. Okay, so yeah, I'm probably not going to get past this boss. This is the third stage boss. And yeah, I've just got hit. Wow. Let me concentrate a little bit, because this is actually hard. Having the auto bombing means that you progress a lot further. Like, I wouldn't have made it past the second stage if it wasn't for the auto bombs. But having the auto bomb means you progress further, but doesn't necessarily mean the game's any easier. One thing to point out, and you probably saw it in action just then as I glided past those bullets. One thing to keep in mind with this game too is that the bullets look really big and scary, and there's always a lot of them, but keep in mind that your ship only has a very small hitbox, which is that small glowing bit in the middle of it. But also the bullets have a smaller hitbox than they take up on screen. Mostly the darker part of the bullets. That was not great, but I've got a hyper now, so we're all good. The bullets have a darker part, which is really their hitbox, which means you can actually scrape through a lot of seemingly otherwise impossible bullet attacks. And of course, that's your traditional bullet hell shooter. Am I going to make this? Sorry, I'm concentrating very hard on this. Just trying to get through. Like I said, I'm not the best person to watch if you want good ideas on how to play these games. You'll notice I tend to sit back at the bottom of the screen a lot more than I really should. Generally, if you want to play well in these games, you need to be much more aggressive than I am here. I mostly doing this because A, that's how I play, and B, I've got to concentrate on talking and playing the game at the same time. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, bullet hitboxes. So, bullets have hitboxes, you have a small hitbox, and everybody gets a hitbox. So yeah. Okay, so this is the 4th stage of the main game. We're probably not going to see... I'm not going to go through... Like, if I game over, I'm not going to credit feed to the end of the game or anything like that. It'll just be whatever we get. But I'll be honest with you, this is one of the better runs I've had. This has been my best run in this game for a while. So, yeah, feel good about that. Yeah, anyway, so... Oh, gotta kill these guys. Once we beat this, because I want to show off the other modes, that's the other thing too, is that I mainly want to show off the other modes. Let's see if I can destroy this plane quickly. Yep, okay. So we'll see how far we get. But on my phone, I can actually 1 credit complete this game pretty easily. I got pretty good at it a long time ago, because I played a lot of it when it first came out. But keep in mind too that the iOS version is toned down. It's not... It actually has a difficulty setting that is the full arcade experience. Like everything you see here you can have on your phone. But by default, it actually is a somewhat easier and toned down game. And it also has, because of the way the controls work on iOS, with the fact that you move the ship at the rate you move your finger around the screen. So you can do some very fine and very precise movements. Much more so than you really can with what I'm using right now, the Xbox One controller. Which, I have to admit, the Xbox One controller, not bad. The D-pad is really good. You can see the very light taps, and I can get these very precise movements. And keep in mind, too, that I am using the ship that moves the slowest. And more importantly than that, I am... that was always suicide. Not only am I using the ship that moves the slowest, but when you use the laser, you move even slower again. And you'll note that I'm keeping the laser out here because I have to. Because you need it to clear... You need it to reflect those big purple lasers on this part, because that's how that mechanic works. But yeah, so the iOS version lets you do some really precise movement. Okay, I'm out of bombs. So next hit is the last hit for this game. Oh, and I got a hyper. And I'm doing surprisingly okay. Let's see if we can get that. Yep. We can. Let's blow these things up. But yeah, I'm deep into stage 4 at the moment, so it's meant to be tricky. And of course, I haven't unlocked the second loop, and I'll explain why that is maybe later. Maybe once I get through this. Okay, so that was an alright run of the standard version 1.5. So, we'll duck out of this, and we'll go here, and do that. And then I'll have a look into... the other modes. So once this saves, yes, you can save your own replays, and you can upload them and download other players' replays. The replay system in this game is exactly as good as it was in Mushihime Summer and Death Smiles. The only downside is that very occasionally replays will desync when you're playing back. Okay, so I'll dive quickly into version 1.51 because this is interesting. So the story behind version 1.51 was that it was never released, I don't believe. So I should explain why it's called version 1.5 and why there's no version 1 or just regular version. So when Dodonpachi Resurrection was released in the Japanese arcades, it came out in... It was discovered that there was an issue with scoring that meant players were rapidly hitting the score cap. I'll stick with bomb style. And players were very quickly hitting the score cap with it. And what that meant was that, it meant that, if you're hitting the score cap while you're playing the game, then, well, obviously there's a problem with the game. Basically, what Cave did to get around that was they added 2 extra digits. There was also, I think, a bug with one of the bosses where there was a safe spot you could sit. In fact, it wasn't one of the bosses, it was the true final boss of the game. There was a bug where there was a safe spot on the screen that you could sit and not get hit. And Cave corrected that, and I think they did a couple of other things as well. So yeah. So there's a couple of things to note with this version of the game. The first thing you'll notice is I'm already getting maximum bonus. The second thing to note is that I've unlocked the alternate boss, because this version of the game only has the 1 loop. So normally a Dodonpachi game will have 2 loops. Oh, that was not good. And the reason for that is just because basically you play through the game and then there's a harder second loop that you have to play through again. And the games actually work these loops into the plot. Dodonpachi Daioju famously told you at the end of the game that everything you just did was a simulation and now you have to do the real thing, which is hilarious. But basically, yeah, so there's 2 loops in the game, and in this game, to get to the second loop, each game has requirements. From the original Dodonpachi, every game has had requirements. I'm going to miss that beat. And in this game, you'll notice that my hit count has gone up quite a lot. You'll also notice that I already have another hyper. And you'll also notice that I lost my maximum bonus. I'll explain the maximum bonus at some point. But for the moment, can I hyper? I can hyper. Cool. Okay. That's good. I want to be able to hyper. Okay, so, basically, yeah, every game in the original Dodonpachi, the second loop basically involved finishing the first loop. Sorry, in the original Dodonpachi, the second loop involved finishing the first loop. In Dodonpachi, they made it you can only access the second loop if you didn't continue in the first loop and if you fulfilled certain conditions, which I think was only dying twice or getting all of the secret hidden bees on some of the levels. I think you needed a minimum of 3. And then Daioju was similar to that again, and in this game it's actually changed quite a bit from that, where in this game to get to the second loop you actually have to perform certain tasks in each level to unlock hidden bosses in each level. And you need to perform, like I say, a certain task. So in the very first level there are these tanks that come across the screen near the start of the level, and there are these sort of silos that the tanks will collide with if you allow them to. And if you destroy the silos before the tanks hit them and destroy them, you will unlock the secret hidden boss in the stage. I forget what the requirement is for any of the other stages. That's the only one I know off the top of my head. But every stage has hidden bosses that have these requirements. And you might, if you're familiar with the Dodonpachi series, you might recognize these hidden bosses. This is the second hidden boss, but we're getting it automatically because of the way version 1.51 is. And also, I didn't clear it, but that's fine. It went away. But yeah, the hidden bosses are actually the bosses from the original Dodonpachi. So we had the first stage boss, that was the second stage boss there. And all of the bosses from the first game are hidden in this game as secret bosses that you have to unlock to get to the second loop. So that's what the second loop requirement's all about in this game. It's a pretty cool idea. And it means that there's this other thing you need to focus on beyond scoring and getting all that stuff done in this game. But yeah, as I said, version 1.5 has a slightly different thing. You'll notice that I build hyper a lot faster, and you'll notice that my combo counter goes up a lot quicker in this version. I don't know all of the changes that are available, but there's quite a few. But anyway, we're going to abandon this now, because I don't want to... I want to get through all the modes and show off a little bit of each one of them. So we are going to head... hang on, return to title. And we are going to show off all the modes. So I just want to show off a bit of 1.51 there. We'll back out into Arrange B. Now this is a really strange mode. So Arrange B works in a really interesting way, and I'll just show off one stage of this because the way this works, there's actually individual stages. You'll also notice in the background, obviously, there's a bunch of wallpapers and stuff. They're different for each one. You have a whole bunch of them. I'll show them off at the end of the thing. You can see there that I haven't really explored this mode a lot, but you can see that there are individual area scores, so that should give you an idea. You can select which area you want to play. We'll just do Area 1. You select which type of ship. This time I'll do Type A, and you select what that is, and we'll do that. And yeah, you can see the high score there written in the number in the font normally reserved for combos. So you have automatic firing in this mode. You also have this weird lasering thing, and enemies have point values, and you collect these things. But the interesting thing with all this is that there is this whole thing about the game learns and adjusts itself based on how good you are at the stages. So this whole thing about this being... It feels a bit... You can see like there's this overlay where it feels like it might be a training mode of some sort. But it's not even that. It's really hard to explain what this actually is. We did hit the requirements. I'm not sure if it's automatic or if I actually needed to hit those requirements then. You also have hypers, obviously, because that's a thing. But you'll notice that there are like 2 hyper meters up the top of the screen there under what's currently the boss health bar. And they fill up and give you a free bomb and a free hyper, and I really haven't explored this mode enough to fully understand it. That's the basic gist of it based on my reading of Hardcore Gaming 101's article on this game. And all these modes were available in the Japanese Xbox 360 release. There was a Western Xbox 360 release, but it had most of the same content, but there was one mode missing, which we'll get to later. Yeah, so this is, again, the first stage boss. We're going to see a lot of this first stage. I think if I do that, I get another hyper mode, and I get these weird chips, which seem to fill a meter at the side of the screen there. But yeah, I don't fully understand what all the numbers... I know one of the numbers under my score represents the current rank, which is basically the difficulty the game is operating at. And the other one represents something else that I don't fully know. But yeah, this is a very strange mode, and I don't really enjoy it that much. You'll also notice that when you die, you just lose points. You don't have lives in this mode. So you just lose points instead. Also, I move very quickly. But yeah, so that's that mode. I don't really get it, but it's there if you want to try it. We'll back out of that and go into the next mode, which may or may not be Novice mode, which I'll only show a little bit of. So I won't save that. Go back. And we'll head to... Oh no, it's a Range A. Let's do a Range A, because a Range A is really cool. And if you're a fan of older Dodonpachi games, this might be right up your alley. So, Dodonpachi Resurrection, a Range A. And for those wondering, Daifukatsu is just a Japanese word that means resurrection, so there's no real difference between the two of them. This mode might be familiar to some of you if you've ever played Dodonpachi Daioju, in fact. And you'll see why very shortly. I also apologise, there's a little bit of screen tearing that happens. I'm not sure how obviously it's showing up on the video, but on my screen there is some screen tearing, and it's a problem this game seems to just have. So a couple of things to talk about before we go on. You'll notice down the bottom it says normal and boost. Oh, you also notice that I died. That's not good. Normal and boost. This is actually the second mode, the power style mode that I haven't used. So if I press the bomb button, I switch between a normal mode and a boost mode. I also have hypers, which you can see here. That's my hyper, and I can switch that out for normal and boost as well if I want. You also notice that the hyper modes fall down the screen. If you played Dodonpachi Daioju, you'll remember that's how they worked in that game. And that's this version's kind of thing. It's basically... I'm doing terribly. It's basically Dodonpachi Daioju meets Dodonpachi Resurrection. A sort of combination of the two. I think the combo scoring works more like Daioju's as well, in terms of the way it counts up. And what that means is the way this game works is you can actually bank hypers. So I don't have any banked at the moment. I had one banked at the moment, which I just used, but yeah, you can actually bank multiple hypers and fire them off at once, which gives you a much bigger hyper boost. It also means that the hyper counter increases based on how many hypers you set off. In Dodonpachi Daioju, when you set off a hyper... Oh, we had a bomb, so that's why I survived that. In Dodonpachi Daioju, when you set off a hyper, if you have multiple hypers, it increases your hit count by the number of hypers you activated every time you went a hit. So, you had like 2 hypers, you would get 2 hits per original hit. That was me pressing the wrong button. That was me hitting a hyper and then immediately having it cancel. Okay, that's unusual. And that's me dying. But yeah, so basically it sort of mashes up Dodonpachi Daioju's hyper system with the hyper system from, or with the game of Resurrection. So it's an interesting mode, and one that'll bring back memories. Even the sounds are the same, and if you beat a stage, which I didn't manage to do there, but if you do beat the stage, it will show you it'll show you the images that we used in the background of the stage complete screen from Dodonpachi Daioju. This is the novice mode for Resurrection. I'll quickly jump into this and just give you an idea how much easier it actually is. Because this is quite fun, quite interesting, quite surprising maybe. Just want to point out too that the girl on the left side of the screen is indeed missing most of her torso. That's part of the design of the element dolls. They're all in sort of segments. You also notice that there's a gap between her arms, and yeah. Yeah, so the plot of this game. Oh boy. I'll use C, and I'll use Strong Style just to show off what Strong Style looks like. Strong Style is meant to be the most advanced mode, but it's also the mode that looks the coolest, so we'll use this for the moment. And you saw Power Style when I was showing off the Arrange B, or the Arrange A mode. So in Strong Style, you get the most powerful shot. It's basically like being in power mode in the... Sorry, being in boost mode in Power Style all the time. You might wonder why you would choose anything other than that, and the truth is that if you're good enough at the game, being able to do that much damage can actually be a detriment, because of the way the Dodonpachi games work, sometimes it's advantageous not to kill everything on the screen at once. I might have successfully managed to unlock the secret boss. No, I haven't, because it would have shifted to it now. I thought I might have been able... Oh, I hit the wrong button. The other thing in the previous mode was that the bomb button is what you use to activate the hyper. In this mode, it's a separate button, which you can see on the bottom left of the screen there. But you can see also here that how much less bullets are coming at me, how much simpler the bullet patterns are. Like I said, the only bomb I've dropped so far was one I accidentally dropped. I haven't actually been hit yet at all. Should probably point out too that bombing in a Dodonpachi game is a grave sin. If you care about score at all, bombing is very bad. Oh, I got every B on the stage. So that's the first time I've managed to unlock that achievement, so that's a life goal achieved. I don't have a hyper yet, so I'm just going to have to... And you see how much simpler this boss pattern is here. I can basically sit still. It's a good way to ease you into the concepts of bullet hell without making you face the complicated bullet hell patterns. So again, I'm probably just going to do this one stage before moving on. And just to give an idea of... Fire it off and it immediately wins. Oh, I probably haven't explained stars yet, have I? So stars are basically score bonuses. You collect them and they're worth a certain number of points, and they're worth a bonus at the end of the stage, which is what they're counting up at the end of the stage here, among other things. So that's what stars are, but you'll also notice stars are also worth a certain points value based on your combo as well. So falling stars, or stars that are flying around like all those, you can see down there, whenever I get them, it sort of like gives you an X however many hits I have bonus. So it's, I think, like 100 points or 1,000 points multiplied by the hit counter. Plus they get counted again at the end of the stage as well. So that's how that works. Anyway, we're going to move on. So we'll hit back to the title, because I want to move on to the next thing, which won't be Black Label novels. It's just going to be regular Black Label. So we'll go into regular Black Label. I will die very quickly because this is very hard. You saw how easy that novice mode was? Well, this is the opposite of that. Yeah, we get the cool looking... yeah, okay. So this is going to be ugly. I will pick Bomber and I'll pick Bomb Style. And we'll see how we go. But yeah, this will get ugly. You might also notice with this game, there's no power-ups. So your choice of ship is pretty much your choice of ship. You might also notice that in Black Label mode, which is what we're playing at the moment, you can laser and shoot at the same time. So basically, my laser replaces my forward gun, but not my side guns. Oh, well, there we go, we died once. The other thing you don't get in Black Label is the bomb on hit. So basically, if we get hit, we die. So the main differences in Black Label, the most obvious difference is that you can see is that meter on the top right of the screen there, that's slowly filling up right now. It's called the red meter. And what it does is it counts up when we laser things, and then it counts back down when we don't laser things. And what it actually is a difficulty system. As we laser things, it increases, and if it gets past that bar, you can sort of see about 3/4 of the way through, 2/3 maybe. If it gets past that bar, enemies become more aggressive and do more damage. They fire out more lasers, and basically it makes the game harder. For some reason I have survived the first stage. That's amazing. I won't survive this boss, but surviving the first stage is pretty cool. And you can see, you'll see how much more complicated these patterns are as this fight continues. It's already a lot more difficult than it was in 1.5. And having just come from this from Novice, we have a hyper now, so I should probably use that. Yeah, you can see just how much more aggressive this boss is, especially because I had her in red mode there, which makes the bullets a lot faster again. Okay, so we died. I knew that would happen eventually. We did beat the boss though, somehow. So that's good, I guess. That's really cool. But yeah, I don't know how I've managed to get through the first stage at all, because first time I played this mode I got wrecked on the first stage. But I've done okay. Maybe it's because I've been practicing with all the other modes. Yeah. Yeah, this is... Oh boy. The other thing you'll notice is that there are numbers appearing under the hit counter, which are basically bonus hits, that don't appear in the normal game. Okay, we're dead. I knew that was eventually going to happen. The bonus hits basically increase the hit counter by whatever number they are, and you get them for... Cancelling bullets, I think, is mostly how those numbers appear. So that's the primary thing. Okay, we're going to take a very quick look at the Novice mode for Black Label, and then we're going to show off what I think is the key selling point for this game. So we'll jump back to Novice mode here, which is this one. Now, this is Black Label's Novice mode. Keep in mind that it's intended to be easy, right? This is intended to be the easy mode for Black Label. You know what I haven't shown off yet? The middle ship. Let's have a look at the middle ship. And we'll just use bomb style. This is the green ship, the helicopter, in most Dodonpachi games. And in this game it is still a helicopter. So you might have noticed the three ships all have a different sort of gimmick, which is their firing pattern. So the red ship, the A-type ship, basically is the powerful forward-firing ship. The C-type ship is the spread ship, basically it tries to cover the screen. And the green ship has this thing where its side lasers, its option pods, wobble around. And so that means that it's, yeah, a lot... You get a lot of control over where those lasers go, but it takes a lot of learning to really understand how to use that. So, yeah, it's sort of the... I don't want to say it's the in-between ship, because it really isn't in a lot of ways, but it is certainly the more interesting ship. So you might notice that this is meant to be easy. This is Novice mode. I've already hit a maximum though, so that's okay. So I don't think I explained what the maximum bonus was before when I said I was going to. Maximum bonus in Dodonpachi is when you collect bombs beyond the maximum number of bombs you can carry, you get a maximum bonus. And the maximum bonus increases your score. I'm not sure what the numbers are in this game. In Dodonpachi Daioju, it increased your score by 220 points every 1/60th of a second, plus a multiplier based on the number of extra bombs you picked up through the game. So it's basically a bonus for playing the game and for surviving in the game. You lose it if you bomb, and you lose it if you die. But otherwise you get to keep... Oh, I died. In this mode, I don't lose it if I die. The other thing that happens with Maximum, though, is that it stops counting during boss battles. But yeah, basically, the more bomb items you collect, the more it multiplies, and the bigger increase it is. In, I think it's Daiojo, it might be regular Dodonpachi, the original Dodonpachi. It can account for up to 40% of your total score. So it's super important to get the maximum bonus as quickly as possible and keep it for as much of the game as possible. And it's the primary reason why bombing in Dodonpachi games is a grave sin. You'd never want to use a bomb if you can avoid it in these games. In fact, in this game, because you have the auto bomb, that's the only way you should be using bombs, is if you accidentally fire them off. Oh cool, I fulfilled the requirement for the second stage one. That's nice. But yeah, bombing is an absolute sin in Dodonpachi, and you should never use bombs. They are score bonuses and score items only. And it's really, really hard to stress how significant that is. I died. How significant that is in these games. Apparently in this mode, in Black Label, dying keeps you maximum bonus, so I didn't realise that. Anyway, we're not going to go too much further. In fact, I might call this here for the moment, so we'll jump back out. Oh, no, that was the wrong button. We'll jump, back to title. Oh, one thing to know with this game, when I first booted it up on Steam, the language was in Japanese. So if you load this game up and it's all in Japanese, note that this menu isn't, but all like the description stuff were in Japanese. But if you go into the options here, you can set the language there. So you might need to do that when you're going. Okay, Black Label Arrange. This mode is amazing, and there's a bit of a backstory to talk about this mode. I was still in the options menu. So there's a bit of stuff to talk about here. But this mode was not available on the Western release of this game. It was only available in the Japanese Xbox 360 disc release. It never came out as part of the digital-only Western release of this game. And why is this mode different and special? Well, you're about to find out. Some of you may think the logo is a bit of a giveaway, given what the logo says. You'll notice that my ship, I didn't get a choice of ship, and my ship is sort of a hybrid of the A-type and B-type ships, the helicopter and the first plane. You might also notice that there are these giant score items falling down the screen. And if you know your cave shooters, you'll know that they're from Ketsui, a classic, revered cave shooter from the early 2000s. In fact, it was the game they made after, I want to say after Dodonpachi Daioju. It was the next game they made after Dodonpachi Daioju, but it might have been the game before it. Ran on the same arcade hardware, which was the IGS PGM system as well. But Ketsui had this really unique scoring system that involved collecting these score gems, which is what I've been picking up. And basically what this mode is, the best way to describe it effectively is Ketsui-Pachi. It's basically Dodonpachi meets Ketsui. And given that Ketsui has never had a home console port, in fact the only real way to play it on a PC is through emulation. There is a Nintendo DS version that is like this boss-only version of it. Like, it's a boss rush mode with, like, I don't know if it has stages or if it has really short stages or how it works. I've never played it. My understanding is that it's just the Ketsui bosses and a few other bits and pieces. It's not really the full Ketsui experience. Ketsui had a couple of unique features, one of which is the cool lock-on feature it had. The other that we get here is these cool hyper. This is our hyper attack, by the way, and we get multiple hypers in this game. But I'm going to try and avoid using them. But the other thing you get with Ketsui-Pachi is... In fact, I am going to use another. I'm probably going to blow all these hypers, which is annoying because of the maximum bonus. Because of the way this game works, your hypers also count for your maximum bonus. Because in this mode, the hyper is the hyper item. I've got a maximum now, so I'm going to not use a hyper, maybe. You might also notice that the game's slowing down quite a lot. This is, I'm not sure, intentional. And I suspect it's also why I'm able to dodge in between these little bullets. But yeah, those extra streams of bullets on the screen seem to slow the game down quite a bit there. So that's the main reason that was happening. But yeah, the other thing you'll notice with... So, the other thing you'll notice, my hit counter went up quite a lot through that. The other thing you'll notice is this, which is basically a bonus for the score points. I don't know exactly how it goes. You can see how I'm not shooting and my score's going up on the left side of the screen there back then. When I started the level, you'll notice that my score was just going up. That's the maximum bonus in action. And that's how much it gives you. It's very quick. So basically, what you get with... the way I understand this mode to work, and again, I'm not fully... understanding of it, is that those Ketsui scoring items increase the hyper meter quite a lot. I think I bombed? I don't think I fired off a hyper. There's my hyper. So I've just blown my maximum bonus, but whatever. basically, yeah, they... what was I talking about? Sorry, I'm trying to concentrate in the game, and I'm sometimes forgetting what I'm talking about. Oh, that's right, I'm talking about the scoring gems. Okay, so the scoring gems increase the hyper counter by a lot each time. They also, I think, increase the hit counter, which is why my hit counters are much higher. And you can see how fast it goes up. Oh, I died again. But I've got another life. Good. And I've got a hyper. And I've kept my maximum bonus. So that's nice. But yeah, basically you can see I'm picking these 10 items up, it's increased my hit counter by 10. So they're massively key to scoring, and the larger ones, the way this mode works is that the closer you are to an enemy, this is also how Ketsui works as well. The closer you are to an enemy, oh, I died. I'm gonna go again. I'm gonna go again. I love this mode. This is my favorite part of this game. The closer you are to an enemy, the larger the gem you get. So basically, it's we won't say replay data, but we will go again. So basically, it is beneficial to point-blank enemies as much as possible, which is quite dangerous, but quite rewarding. It's a risk-reward thing, which Dodonpachi is all about anyway. Point-blanking in Dodonpachi is pretty important anyway. So, for example, here we want to stay right near the top of the screen. You'll start to see why. Compare this to what I was doing before, where I was much further down the screen at this point, and you'll notice my hit counter is going up a lot quicker here, as I try to remember the right way to move. Ultimately, when you're playing Dodonpachi, here we go. This is where it starts getting nuts. I'll drop that hyper just to try and get that out of the way. We'll get all of these, and yeah, we're already up to like 1600 hit. We're massively ahead of where we were before. I wasn't really playing for this before, but we are now hugely. In fact, I've set my own personal best scoring record. You can see the number on the side of the screen turned yellow there. That was because I've now set... Oh, I died. I was doing so well. But yeah, I've set a personal best. I didn't get the secret boss either. There is a secret boss here, but from memory, I don't think you can access a second loop in this mode. So you still have to unlock the secret bosses if you want to get them, but there's no second loop, I believe. Is how it works here. So yeah, but as you can see, playing aggressively is much more worth it in terms of the score, because you get the much larger Ketsui scoring gems. We'll call them Ketsui scoring gems because they're from Ketsui and not this game. I'll be honest with you guys, this is, I think, reason alone to buy this game. I love this mode. I never played it before it came out here, because it wasn't available outside, like I say, the Japanese disc release. But having Ketsui Pachi finally available in the West is so good, and so much fun. And I think, yeah, as I said, this is reason alone to pick this version of the game. I'm gonna waste my maximum bonus just to do more damage. For those wondering, Hyper Mode does increase your damage output quite dramatically. It also has a couple other effects. Like I said, it also increases the amount of hits you score against an enemy. And a few other things as well. I forget what the other things that it does are. And they're different based on which of the modes you play. So anyway, talking a bit more about just this general collection, it's, I think, $19.95 US, or no, it's $29.95 US on Steam. And I honestly think that's worth it. This is a heap of content, especially if you like bullet hell, especially if you like cave games, and especially if you like Dodonpachi. While Dodonpachi Resurrection is not my favourite Dodonpachi game, or even my favourite cave shooter, it's still a very good game. It's got some really interesting ideas that I don't personally think it quite executes properly. But I think overall, it was a worthy successor to Dodonpachi Daioju. It's not the last Dodonpachi game either. There is another one that's never come out outside of Japan called Dodonpachi Sai Daioju, which is actually meant to be the very final Dodonpachi game. In fact, I think it's the last shooter Cave have ever made. Cave is still in business, but they've stopped making shooters because it turns out there isn't a lot of money in shooters. How am I not dying? I don't know how I survived all that. But yeah, there's not a lot of money in shooting games, it turns out, and so Cave have had to diversify a bit. And they made some interesting stuff. They made a weird dating sim a while ago that actually incorporates an Xbox 360 port of the original Dodonpachi, which is really interesting. They also made a really interesting Xbox 360, Xbox Live Arcade game called Nin 2 Jump that's worth checking out. It's basically a really sort of fast-paced action platformer. It feels kind of like a really stylized... It actually feels like the kind of platform game that Platinum might make if Platinum made platform games. So it's really fun. So Cave are still around. Of course, they're still around. They're helping do these ports and licensing to Dodonpachi and all that. So they are still around. My understanding is that if these ports do well, it may mean more Cave shooters in the future, which would be really nice. Although the main guys behind the Dodonpachi series have since left Cave, so I don't know what the situation is at the moment. There isn't a lot of English language info on Cave's circumstances these days. But what I can tell you right now is that if you want to see more Cave content on Steam, buy this game, buy Mushihime-sama, and buy Death Smiles, because they're all great and all worth owning if you like shooting games. This, I think, is probably the best one. The port isn't perfect. I'll freely admit, it's not... It has some problems. The main one I've noticed is it can be a little bit... I found it a little bit finicky to start up. Sometimes it doesn't load correctly. It's never crashed on you. Whoa! That was a lot of stars. That was a lot of points. I'm not sure how that... Oh, my hypermeter filled. Oh no, my hyper ended. That's why. That's why that happened. Activating the hyper turns everything into stars. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. It's slowing down so much that I'm able to get through that. Oh, look at all those stars. Look at all those bullets. Yep. But yeah, let me just very carefully navigate this. This is really easy because it's moving very slowly. Not sure I'm going to bung out. I'll bung out another hyper just to clear that. The bullet clearing effects of hypers and bombs should not be underestimated. If you watch a lot of... there we go. If you watch a lot of replays and superplay videos of Cave shooters, you'll notice that on the very final bosses, players will often bomb, not to damage the boss, but to clear the screen of bullets and reset themselves on the screen, which is a really noble way of doing it. And in fact, most Cave shooters these days actually prevent boss bomb damage. Because I think it's the original Dodonpachi or Dodonpachi where you could bomb the boss to damage them. And they basically banned that from Dodonpachi Daioju onwards. So yeah. Anyway, that was Ketsui-Pachi, the Ketsui mode, which is by far my favourite mode of this game. This has been quite a long video, I think, but I think I've gone through everything that we need to go through. I'm not going to show the replay mode off. It's basically, you can go to the leaderboards. Okay, I'll quickly show this off. You can go to the leaderboards, you can see the top players. And then you can, if there's a little paperclip icon, you can select the game clip option down the bottom. That lets you download the replays, which are then accessed through Watch Replays, and that will load. I've downloaded a couple just to look at them, and that will load them up, and then you can obviously watch them as though you were playing the game. It's a really cool feature and really great for learning the game, watching what other people do. Obviously, with the advent of YouTube, it's probably not quite as necessary as it used to be, but it's still a really good feature to have in these games. So, but yeah, that's Dodonpachi Resurrection. It's available on Steam right now for about, I think I said US $30. And for the amount of content you get, you're getting, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different versions of the game. All of which are unique enough, I think, to justify individual playtime. Version B, I feel like, is a bit of a dud, but the rest of them are all worth playing, and so there was something here, I think, to satisfy everyone no matter how you play. And for me, it's this mode, the Black Label Arrange mode, or Ketsui-Pachi, that made the whole thing worth it. Because like I say, I've had Dodonpachi on the Xbox 360, and the only thing that was missing was this mode, which I wanted when I first heard about it, and finally I've been able to play it, so I'm really happy about that. So that's Dodonpachi Resurrection. Definitely pick it out if you pick it up. What was I saying? Definitely pick it up if you like bullet hell shooters, because it is fantastic. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.